All right. Here we go again with another beautiful Twitter space over here with Blocksquare and the RWA space. And we have a bunch of really great names here today. So I'm really excited. I mean, obviously, every AMA that I have with Blocksquare is always exciting. But RWA just keeps on making moves in the space. So I'm super glad to have everybody here talking about what's going on in the RW space and really just bringing the information out to the community, and ultimately showing why we're so kind of enthusiastic about RWA as it continues to grow. We know, in my eyes, it's a little bit much more of a maturing aspect. It takes time, especially in the real estate investment area, but blockchain really has accelerated the access and the technology. So I'm super excited to have you guys here today. Give us a moment as we get all the speakers up here, and we'll be kicking started here in just a second. I want to make sure everybody's mics are good, but first I want to make sure everybody is up here and ready to go. It looks like we got most of us, if not all of us, up here. But yeah, we'll just give us just a moment, and we're going to be kickstarting another exciting Twitter space over here with Blocksquare. Definitely appreciate having me over here to moderate and host these again. It's always exciting, and like I said, we have some really great names here today. So we'll be diving in here just a second, but take the time right now to use the restroom, get a snack, get something to drink, because we're gonna be diving into a lot, and I don't want anybody missing out. All right, all right. It does look like we got most of us up here, and just in case I do miss somebody, we'll have them come up, as we do introductions. But I want to make sure we get everybody's mics good to go, make sure everybody's ready to go, and then we'll be kick started here in about a minute. But Dennis, how you doing? Let's check your mic, see how you doing.
How about
Awesome.
yourself? All good? You seem pumped up
Yeah,
for this one, huh?
no, always, man. I tell you, I'm always pumped up for Blocksquare. I don't get to have as many AMAs with you guys as I want, so it's always a great pleasure to have you guys update. And this usually gives me time to like, oh, what are they doing? Obviously, if they have a big AMA, let's jump into what's going on. So I end up doing a lot of research. So no, it's always
I didn't.
exciting. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, exactly the same thing I felt. I was like, wow, this is definitely a great team to be able to talk about the space, but ultimately having you guys constantly driving value in the ecosystem and then being able to have these spaces is exciting in itself. So definitely agree. I hope the community really sees the value you guys are bringing in and really, kind of this soaks it all in, because I would say these AMAs are great. They're informative. They got great technology to talk about. We all talk about trends, but it's about how the community takes it in and really understands it. And so that's what I love about them. You guys are very transparent, and like you said, there's some really great teams and names up here today. And you guys obviously been doing great in the space just overall. So, Polytrade, how you doing over there with your mic? Let's double check it, make sure you're good to go.
Yeah, I think it's good to go. Thank you so much for having us. It's a good day to chat with, all lovely speakers here. Really excited for this one.
Most definitely. Thank you, Luke. How you doing?
Pretty good, thank you. Thank you for having me. Very happy to be there and to talk with everyone.
Oh yeah, it's definitely gonna be excited. And let's see, I don't want to mess this up. Tokelytics. That's what I said it right. How you doing?
Hey, hi, yeah. You got Daniel here.
Nice, nice. No, it's glad to have you guys here. All right. Well, we got the intros on them, or the mics done. We'll start off with some intros from you guys, just 1 or 2 minutes, just kind of get an idea of what you guys are doing in the space. And then we'll jump into some questions, kind of understanding the RW space and how you guys are kind of facilitating your guys' approach to the space. I mean, even today, as things are changing, as things are growing, even some of you guys have changed a lot of what you guys are doing. So it's really good to have you here. The community can really see what you guys are doing, kind of unnecessarily the rebranding, but the reapproach to how you guys are coming to the RW space. So it's really good to have you guys here. With that being said, Dennis, you want to give us a little intro of Blocksquare and what you guys are doing over there, opening things up for the intros?
Sure thing. Thank you, Manuel. So my name is Denis. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Blocksquare. We built this whole protocol and ecosystem for tokenizing real estate, effectively making it really easy for any company to utilize the right tools and approach to bring real estate value on chain. And we've also done some ancillary products, or been creating ancillary products for our ecosystem, but as well for the wider real estate tokenization ecosystem. And here comes Tokelytics then into play, who's being headed by Daniel Kaines, our head of risk. And it's just an amazing product that we've been bringing to market for the past year, or maybe even more. And he's going to be able to talk about it a bit further. Anyways, very happy to be on the space and hope everyone listening has a great time with us.
Most definitely. And if you guys aren't, aware of what Blocksquare has been doing, if you are new to the space, you're just randomly jumping in, please take the time to follow them. really understand what they're doing and really deep dive into, you know, their technology and what they're doing to help other companies and projects come to market in the RW space. It's huge. You guys have definitely been, I would say, a linchpin in the growth of the RW space, but ultimately bringing real value to other companies, allowing them access to stuff without having to deal with a lot of the overhead of the ecosystem. So definitely love that you guys have been kicking, I'd say kicking butt pretty much. I don't know, what, a year and a half now, getting close to it, being live. I don't know. It's been a long time. And so I'm definitely excited to see where you guys have been able to get to and really help like a lot of these other companies. You know, I think there's like 4 different companies that I actually in their ecosystem and they're still thriving, they're still doing good. So it's just really exciting to see you guys constantly pushing that value to not just yourself and to your community, but to other projects and other companies trying to come into the RW space. Definitely exciting. So I definitely encourage anybody here that doesn't know about Blocksquare to at least follow, turn on those notifications, and you are up to date, not only with what they're doing, but the assistance they're bringing to a lot of these companies out here. It's definitely encouraging for those that, you know, are looking to come into space, but don't know what they're doing. So I appreciate you guys, Dennis, over at Blocksquare. You guys have been killing it. So Polytrade, why don't you give us a little intro?
Yeah, this is Shreya. I head marketing for Polytrade, and it's been a long-standing relationship with Blocksquare that we really appreciate. So, again, really excited, and thanks for having us. So, about Polytrade, we essentially are one of the leading RWA aggregators that you would see around. We have about 5,000 RWA assets, almost 70 plus protocols from 11 different chains. We're closely working with Mastercard for a lot of solutions, and we're backed by Polygon and some of the biggest names in the space. What we wanted to do is kind of bring together all fragmented and scattered around RWAs, maybe like T-bills, credit stocks, real estate commodities. That's what we've put together on the marketplace, making it very easier for users to discover, trade, or leverage, or do possibly anything with RWAs. Yep, that's about us.
I'm not sure if that was me or if you got cut off there or if that was the ending there. It got kind of short there towards the end. I don't know if you were having mic issues. Are you good there, Polly?
Yeah, what was the last
Okay.
thing that anyone heard? I'm
You
sorry,
you were
yeah.
you were talking about how you know, just the overall ecosystem and the introduction. It was just like literally the last like 3 seconds, 4 seconds, it just cut off and then you came back. So I
Yeah.
didn't know if maybe it was the end there or if it was a mic
Yeah.
issue. It sounded like a mic issue. So
Yeah, yeah, could be, could be. I'm now very close to the mic. I think it should be better now. So, as I was saying, we built this marketplace only to solve the fragmentation and scattering of RWAs around the space. So, we've brought like different asset classes like T-bills, credit, stocks, real estate, commodities together into this one marketplace where we like to call the Amazon of RWAs. So it's basically just, enabling users discover, trade, and leverage RWAs and basically do anything that they want very easily with the marketplace. We've authored an ERC 6960 standard, which enables fractionalization of these RWAs out there. So that's what we basically do, and then that's what we're trying to solve.
no, awesome. Definitely encourage you to continue doing what you're doing because I like even myself when I'm looking for RWAs, like you said, it's very segmented out there. So having somewhere that's not only just like focusing on the real estate, but bringing the broader ecosystem together with RWAs, it's a huge win for the ecosystem and allows for people to really have a different, set of opportunities within their portfolio to look at. And I think that's another win for the ecosystem, right? RWAs, like I said, is continually growing. So seeing a marketplace that really focuses on much more broader RWAs. It's going to be growing and it's going to be huge over time. I know myself because I'm in stocks and bonds in the real world, and I love how the blockchain technology is really kind of making that value and that push for it. So I can't wait to see, as things continue to grow, and maybe I can add some things to my portfolio. So Luke, why don't you give us an introduction?
Sure. So Tokeny, I'm the CEO at Tokeny, and we are leading on-chain finance player. In short, we provide white label technology and an interoperable ecosystem of solutions for RWAs. So since 2017, believe it or not, we help corporates and financial institutions to tokenize their assets in a compliant way. So we have solutions for the issuance of these assets, but also the lifecycle management, the distribution, we help to tokenize billions of dollars of assets already, different asset class, a lot of funds, some debt instruments, some payment systems, commodities. So more and more we try to build this interoperable ecosystem, and that's why it's great to have sessions like this where we can discuss all together, because we think that the RWA space is just at the beginning, so we need to grow the size of the pie. So that's what we try to do for years, and now we really see more and more adoption, especially since the meme coins are crashing. People want real stuff, and we try to onboard this real asset on chain and work with the whole ecosystem. We don't want to do the full value chain, but we are building for 7 years to enable our clients to easily represent their asset on chain, represent the different stakeholders, and enable DeFi, because we believe that blockchain should be an open infrastructure, and we successfully created a token protocol to bring compliance and control on chain, and that's why we work with large financial institutions to bring real world asset and financial product successfully on chain.
Hey, well put. I will tell you, I totally agree there. I am kind of tired of the meme world. I definitely had my fill of it, and it's definitely time to shift that that value of my portfolio. So I definitely agree. RWA is super early. It's super young. There's so much the growth there. So I always encourage people, even if you're still on the fence with RWAs, at least get your feet wet in some of the information and get a part of some of these projects, because like you're saying, it's so early, and the value just continually exponentially grows. I mean, we've seen it over the last 6 months to a year now, and it's only going to continually grow as RWAs get stronger and the ecosystem matures. So definitely agree with there. And I'm tired of meme tokens. I love meme tokens. I love the community, but I'd rather see some great technology, deep in and all that to really start taking the trend again and really push it forward for the blockchain. So like you said, it's still very early, and I agree on that sentiment wholeheartedly. And I know that over the next 5 years, that's really where we're going to see RWAs really take off, especially as Blocksquare continually brings the ecosystem for companies to continue find their value and grow and launch. So definitely agree there. Tokelytics, this is why I'm super excited to talk to you, see what you guys are about. I've heard a lot about you, and I think Denis has probably talked in the last 6 months about Tokelytics and how powerful it's going to be. So I'm just super excited to have you here today, and we can get a little talk about what you guys are doing, get an introduction, and then we'll be deep diving obviously a little bit more into it later, but definitely excited to have you here.
Hey, pleasure to be here. Thanks for the intro. Yeah, so my name is Daniel Kaines, and first and foremost, I head up risk at Blocksquare, where I mainly focus on the best processes and tools for Blocksquare to lead the charge in property tokenization, while also working closely on the deployment of new initiatives. As you mentioned, I also head up Tokelytics, which is an organization in partnership with Blocksquare, which brings together the world's tokenized real estate market in one place, while also enhancing that on-chain data with real-world property analytics. And we also support users with AI-powered analytics and tools.
Yeah, like I said, super excited to have you here. I mean, obviously there's a lot of in-depth information, but people here, they're always looking for, the data and at their hand so they can make concise information. And I think Denis was hounding about this probably like every space for the last few spaces that we had, that this was coming. This was a great part of the ecosystem. So it's definitely glad to have you actually here talking about it and really kind of representing it as things, start to grow and mature. The data set and everything you guys are going to be having for people available is going to be huge. And I think that transparency level is really the cornerstone of DeFi, right? Actually having the information not only up to date and present, but allowing you to see in real time the value of your RWA or possible other RWAs in the ecosystem. I think is a huge win. I mean, we've always talked about education as number one, and now this is proof in the pudding. So definitely exciting to have you here. With that being said, though, I think we do have one more speaker that is having trouble coming up. So I really do apologize for that person having issues. I know Twitter can be, or X can be quite a hassle in the beginning. So if you do get up here, we will give you the time to be able to give us an introduction and everything. But until then, let's go ahead and jump into the questions. Obviously today, we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot of great teams up here to talk about the information, but I don't want to waste too much time, lollygagging while we have so much to talk about. I know that, the technical issues can always be hindrance, but it's not going to stop us from actually having a great space. But hopefully he can get in here, because I did have a question for him that I was hoping he would be available. But if not, we'll continue. With that being said, Dennis, my first question is for you. We have seen a huge surge in real estate tokenization. Where do you see the biggest market demand coming from in 2025? And what regions or sections are actually leading the adoption? I know we kind of talked about, what your guys' plans were and how you guys are going to approach different regions, but obviously, we talked about a regulatory stance and a lot that you guys have to deal with in order to get there. So how have you guys been able to really see your on-chain finance evolving to better serve these investors and operators in these new regions that are starting to grow?
Well, let me dissect the question first. Well, I think the demand of bringing real estate on chain, or bringing more efficiency into real estate transactions, has been there since forever, right? We've started Blocksquare in 2017 because we saw that this market is going to grow. And it was, as I mentioned, always, there was no RWA hashtag when we started developing the infrastructure. We just knew that it makes a lot of sense. Just bringing that one-click button thing to real estate and being able to get exposure, and on the other end, having the full transparency of not, doing a one-click buy into a fund that has so many different fine prints that in the end you don't get the value back. But here you can really kind of see and get the direct connection to a specific asset. And we always said tokenization is going to come in two sectors. There's going to be a institutional sector, and there the securitization model is going to kind of win. But then you have assets below 10, 20 million, below 5 million, below 500K. And that segment of the solution is not going to be able to cater to them. And so that's what we developed Blocksquare for, because there's a huge amount of real estate value out there that is of smaller caps, let's say. And so, we've seen the emergence of demand, I would say, across the board from different regions. We have, I believe, right now, more than 15 marketplaces running on our tech. We've tokenized over 140 million worth of real estate assets. On the launchpad, there's one or two projects coming every month, and basically launching with us. And the one that we have just made the announcement for is, I think, very interesting, because it's a real estate group from Florida who's been operational for 25 years. It's called Vera Group. You can check them out. And their plan is very ambitious. We've basically partnered up to bring 1 billion worth of real estate assets, new development projects, and established ones on chain. And I think the timing is amazing, because in the US, you have kind of a pro crypto environment. We have an amazing partner that has all the cards in place to really successfully launch a US based marketplace. And we have a lot of experience of how to tokenize real estate. That's what we do, that's what we focus on. So I think from the other regions, there's huge interest in Australia. We've been on a regulatory forum just last week, and some exciting things happening there. We've partnered this year with CMS Law, or last year actually, and we've researched more than 18 jurisdictions. And in the US, we've done preliminary research for Florida, Nevada, and California. And these are kind of the target states that will be entering the US market, Florida being first. This all kind of ties into the notarization framework that we've kind of pioneered in 2023, and then kind of went on a larger legal research, and then established our footing in Luxembourg now, where we do issuance of these tokens from. And the interesting part of how we tokenize real estate is that it can be regulated under MiCA regulation and not MiFID II, which is the securities regulation. So when you tokenize shares of a company that owns real estate, it's MiFID II. When you create a token and you collateralize that token with a charge on the title and a specific way of how you dissect the transaction, you are regulated under MiCA regulation, which is the crypto regulation of Europe. And I think the crypto regulation of Europe is going to become a standard across the board, just like GDPR has become in the past, where Europe kind of led the charge, and then other places around the world had to adopt the GDPR kind of a standard of how to deal with personal private data. Now, I believe in the next 5 years, we're going to see a huge amount of real estate being brought on chain. We've heard recently an announcement in, I believe, in the GCC region in Dubai of a partnership between Mantra and the Mac Group. This means there's probably space for going to the competition with our solution, perhaps. I don't know. We will see. But definitely, there's big movements happening, and we'll see, where the future takes us.
I totally agree. And let's go. Coming to the United States, man. It's funny how you were able to actually say that United States being crypto friendly. Almost a year ago or 2 years ago, you would never even have thought that crypto was going to move that fast in the United States, being much more accepted. And I love it that you guys are definitely taking that step.
The US has always been pro crypto. It's just that the government hasn't been. But
Yeah,
that's another
there you
discussion,
go.
right?
No, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's definitely a way to point it. Yeah, because no, the community, the people, they wanted it for a long time, and it was definitely the government. Like even myself, like I live in California, which is almost as bad as New York, not as bad as New York when it comes to really just locking you out of it. But it's just really good to see the sentiment has really changed on the government side and allowing Blocksquare to be able to start coming in and showing that there's real value here. And obviously the real estate ecosystem in the United States is massive. And so definitely a great opportunity for you guys to be able to come and start getting, the technology, I would say, value
Well,
into the hands of the people.
just to add just a small thing, California, we mentioned 3 states that we kind of researched first, right? And all the legal advice we got was, stay away from California. But the fact is
Yeah.
that California is the #1 state when it comes to tech adoption, right? So,
Yeah, it's
and
definitely weird like that.
and and the interesting part is that from the research we've done, yes, California is tougher, but it's not as much tougher than we thought, at least not in the way we tokenize real estate. So it seems like Florida is the easiest one. And then we wanted to see what's the toughest one in the US, just to see, And it seems that's also doable. So let's see where it gets us.
No, that's awesome. And, obviously California being one of the biggest states has a huge amount of real estate and it's constantly growing. But yeah, no, I definitely agree. Even myself as a business owner in California, it is a many hurdles and a lot of extra regulations I have to deal with or paperwork or whatnot. But, I'd say the real value is here if you can. And so I'm definitely glad that you guys looked at it as an opportunity and a possibility. And like you said, if you can get the easiest one and you get the hardest one done, then the rest of them will follow suit. So definitely love that idea and the way you guys are approaching it. It's going to be exciting and like it's going to give me an opportunity to, I have some land that's just sitting there and I've never even thought about it, but now that Blocksquare is coming around, maybe I'll be able to tokenize and get some value out of some piece of asset that I just have laying there. So definitely exciting. I can't wait to see you guys grow and really just push it to the next level. As the more adoption happens and regulatory the clarity starts happening. Obviously, as you guys come in, I think even a lot of value from what you guys are doing is going to help bring that clarity, that regulatory stance, and ease of access for big companies trying to come in and get the value. And especially institutions, if you can get a lot of institutions to back you, which you already have, but on the United States side, it's just going to be streamlined. At least that's how I look at it. You guys have been doing really well, and a lot of these governments are kind of scared of who they're going to be able to attach their name to or who they're going to allow kind of come into the ecosystem. But what you guys are doing and the type of companies that already have helped bring to market in the United States before it was kind of heavily accepted by the government, I think is a win in itself. So I'm definitely excited for the future of Blocksquare and the overall market. All right. With that being said, let's go over to Polytrade. I have a question for you. Obviously you guys have been in the space for a little while. You guys have done a lot in the space, but I really want to kind of touch on, how you guys have been able to facilitate the RWA space, the aggregated model that you have been able to in your guys' space, and the challenges that it's come to be able to bring those type of assets on chain, and what strategies have you guys been able to implement to really bring that traditional market side of things to the DeFi side of things. It's very intriguing how you guys have been able to really bring the next level of RWAs into a marketplace.
Thank you for the praises. Well, it's not very easy, but I think we initially started off as a trade finance business, and we were tokenizing invoices at that time, and realized that the space is bigger than this. There are problems bigger than this, so we would like to essentially put these problems as a trilemma. So there's a RWA trilemma that we think, which kind of revolves around fragmentation, security, and scalability. Most of these important problems kind of, are like a barrier for these users to kind of come from the traditional side to this side, which is, first fragmentation, obviously, because, so many protocols are tokenizing different kinds of assets in silos. Now, how do you really figure out who's tokenizing what? And let's say I have $100 to invest in RWAs. It's a very tough journey for a user to get started and to reach an endpoint where he or she can make a decision that I'm for sure investing into this. There's education curve that's a big challenge, apart from the obviously other challenges that we have. And there's I think a bigger problem is that traditional financial systems also require substantial capital investment. Um, and this limits access for smaller investors, and that's why we wanted to first build the marketplace, and then second, author this ERC 6960 standard, which enables fractionalization, because we're actually reducing the ticket size for participants. The second, I think, we feel was also lack of standardization. So again, fragmentation, and there are different asset types and structures, which kind of lead to a lack of standardization and transparency. So that's why we put it all together, trying to kind of standardize token assets. And again, this marketplace serves like a platform where you can find different assets from different chains, let's say. You can interact with, let's say, all assets on Polygon. Now, I mean, you as a user wouldn't know how many assets are there on Polygon and where do you find this. So it's also like a directory where, it's easier to find. I might just be interested in a financial instrument to invest in, but I might never have the exposure to, see something like a collectible, which can also give me yield, right? So that's something, again, we wanted to solve. But the other important bit of this was also a liquidity of traditional assets. So we really wanted to make a secondary market and enable secondary trading on the platform, so there's more entry exit opportunities for investors. And yeah, here we are with the marketplace. It hasn't been tough because of different standards and regulatory challenges, licenses, and the trust factor that isn't very clear. There's a very gray space, and as everybody's already said in this space, we're still very early. So we're still there. We're trying to figure out, coming up with different opportunities for users also to get exposure to RWAs. We recently launched a decentralized options market for RWAs. Have yesterday also launched an AI agent for RWAs. It essentially will act like an Alexa for RWAs. So if you want to know, what kind of yield a certain asset is giving, what kind of asset should you invest in, any questions that you might have, so it becomes your assistant. So we kind of constantly innovating to make sure that the space is accessible to all. We really want to take everybody together to achieve larger adoption in the space. Yeah.
No, I think that's huge. I especially using the AI agent. I'm actually recently have gotten in love with these AI agents, and I'm asking them a bunch of different questions. But having one to actually help you kind of understand the ecosystem and find your place and value, I think it's a huge thing because obviously, like hey, you guys having being an aggregator and having a lot of options there, people are still gonna have a lot of questions, and having an AI agent that can kind of sift through the data, give you proper answers, and allow you to have that kind of risk management, or even find the value opportunity that suits your portfolio, I think is a win all in all. And you guys actually having the options that you just mentioned, I think is another huge win, especially for some of these advanced traders that want to come in and not just have a fractionalized asset parked there, but being able to actually find trades at value within the ecosystem as it's constantly growing is another win. It's another opportunity for people, to utilize your ecosystem and be able to be, what's the word, introduced to the RWA space that might not have been a part of it because they didn't want to, like I say, park a little bit of fractional assets aside. But now that there's actual options trading, that's just a whole nother breath to the ecosystem. I think that's a huge win. So good job. I think you guys are doing real well. Obviously, like you're saying, it's so early, but you guys being able to take the foot forward and saying, here, we're going to help you at least gain more access to a bigger broad of RWAs at a much more fractionalized thing is a huge win. And we've been talking about it for a long time. Like even myself 10 years ago, like putting this amount of money I did on a little piece of land, I was nervous, right? That's gone. But now with RWAs, if I want to have a piece of something, I don't have to take a $20,000 to $50,000 investment to be a part of it. And I think that's a win, for a lot of people that are just kind of dipping their toes in the RWA ecosystem. Being able to, like you said, have $100, $200 investment and really kind of understand the value of it, and then obviously grow and scale with it, because we all know the ecosystem for real estate, for RWAs, are constantly growing. Even when the market's down, the value keeps growing. So I think that's a huge win. All right. Well, this next question is for Luc. How you doing there, Luc? With the growing regulatory scrutiny, how can tokenized platforms strike a balance between compliance, liquidity, investor accessibility, and additional, which RWA tokenization has seen the highest adoption over at Tokeny? And what do you see the greatest demand for the regulatory clarity? I know this is probably a question that we've been hounding over the last few years in the ecosystem, but it's always good to kind of get an idea of how you guys have been able to navigate that and still bring tons of value to your ecosystem.
Indeed, it's a key question. And over the years, we saw different type of asset class taking more and more importance. So we saw different trends, a lot of real estate, then a lot of commodities. Now we do a lot of funds, so different type of assets. I think at Tokeny, since day one, we started to work with equities or that kind of things, and we realized if you really want to protect investors and track digital ownership, you basically need to bring on-chain compliance and control. So I know that compliance looks annoying and boring and the old TradFi world, but actually we see compliance as a way to guarantee the ownership, so to protect investors. Basically, if you never prove your identity, you cannot really claim that you own something. So over the years, we created a full token protocol, a suite of smart contracts that we fully open sourced, the TRX protocol. So now it's used by many tokenization platform and a full ecosystem. And this token protocol is basically an ERC20 token on steroid. So it's basically compatible with the whole ecosystem, EVM, so DeFi applications, wallets, etc. But it's permission tokens. So these tokens can only go to people who are authorized to receive these tokens. So you don't need to permission the blockchain network. You don't need to permission the DeFi protocol. Each token is already permissioned according to the rule from the issuer, the token issuer. And thanks to this, we could create a full ecosystem of large players. And these large players already have a lot of assets to tokenize. So that's why now we work with asset managers, transfer agents, fund administrators, that kind of people who already have the assets, and now we can bring them on chain. So it's not because we bring them on chain that suddenly we can, it doesn't change the nature of the underlying assets. They are still securities. But because it's on chain, everything is digital, so you can do much more things in a much better way. Today, in a fund, usually you have 20 investors in a classic fund. If you tokenize it, indeed, you can manage thousands of investors because everything is digital. So it's still possible, technically speaking. Fractionalization is already possible with securities. You can do whatever you want. So we didn't see the blockchain as a way to fix fractionalization, but we thought it was a good way to onboard much more people, especially because you can bring new usage. For example, transferability and liquidity. Most of the alternative funds today are not available for retail investors and are not really available for high net worth individuals or family offices. Why? Because when you invest, like in a private equity fund or real estate fund, usually you're blocked in this fund for 10 years because the fund manager needs to buy some buildings, to exploit those buildings, and then to resell them. So who wants to be today when World War III is about to start? Who wants to be blocked in a fund for 10 years? Nobody. So if we tokenize this fund, we can bring more transferability, collateralization, that kind of things that, okay, can convince new investors to jump in and to invest in this fund. So you can target retail investors with securities. There are some constraints. In Europe, is not that complex. Actually, you can do it mostly everywhere, but usually you need to do public securities. It's a bit more complicated. But you have some ways to target retail investors anyway. We took that route because we think it's better to, if you take good assets, qualitative assets, to make sure that you guarantee the ownership of the investor, rather than trying to package the asset is some kind of derivatives where at the end you don't really know who owns what. We see on the market a lot of projects where in the legal documentation it says we'll give you a token, but you cannot transfer it. The securities are not transferable, and then the token can be technically transferred to anyone. So today you have some people who think they own part of a fund, but they just own the tokens. They don't own anything of the fund. So we think it's an issue, and that's why this token protocol was very useful. And that's why today it's really booming. And now it's managed by a non-profit association, the ERC3643.org association, with a bit more than 100 members, large law firms, Web3 players, financial institutions, tokenization platforms. And we are all trying together to fix all of the issues of RWAs, cross-chain, privacy, distribution, all of these topics, to make sure that it's not only us at Tokeny, a software provider, but the full ecosystem interoperable that's taking shape, to make sure that the end investors are protected and can do things with their assets. So step by step, we are bringing transferability. I will not say that we bring liquidity yet. It's a bit early in the market for this, but it's coming.
That is exciting. I will definitely encourage people right now, if you are just as hungry for information about their ecosystem as I am, to follow Luc and get into to what they're building and understand. Jump in the white papers, really just jump into technology. I think that's awesome what you guys are doing. You're taking a new way of the standard and really, like you're saying, you're not changing or trying to fix something, but you're definitely enhancing the access and ability for people that are into securities onto blockchain, but then also trying to get it to where every individual can be able to come in and utilize and get that within their portfolio. I think it's huge, and this is like, even myself, this is stuff that I need to research. So I'm going to be jumping in right after this AMA and kind of get into your ecosystem and learning, because for me, I always say try to always educate yourself with something every day, and blockchain technology has been able to do that obviously exponentially over the years. But like even what you guys are doing right now, totally unique, huge value that you're bringing in. And like you say, you're super early, but you guys are definitely getting traction. So that's huge. I definitely like what you guys are doing. Exciting actually for how you've been able to actually take that side of the ecosystem and really bring it to the blockchain. And in turn, it's going to help for, like we were talking about earlier, institutional adoption, which is going to be one of the most important parts for RWA as it grows and continually scales, is getting big institutes, big investment opportunities coming on chain in a much more secure way. Because like there's a lot of the scary part of blockchain is people are kind of scared or not educated on the value there. So what you guys are doing right there, I think it's a huge win in the ecosystem, bringing an already established ecosystem that a lot of these guys are already familiar with, and then really enhancing it. I think that's huge. So I hope people are really catching my excitement for it, and they're following and they want to jump into the ecosystem and learn what you guys are doing, because that's huge value for the ecosystem as we continually grow and scale and mature the RWA space. So thank you, Luke. That was awesome. I like literally, I'm going to be jumping in here right after this AMA because I want to learn more how you guys have been able to enhance that ecosystem, but we're also still bringing value to the DeFi and investors. And like you said, liquidity is a long ways away. As we mature, it's gonna hit. When it hits, it's gonna be hard. So those that are in early, those that are understanding the ecosystem early, I definitely encourage everybody here to start educating themselves, because as things start to fly, you know how blockchain is. Before you know it, you feel like you're left behind. But with RWA, it's a slow mature before the big cliff or launch to the moon, or wherever you want to say it, for those that are familiar with the blockchain. So definitely encourage people to get in, learn more, obviously, about Blocksquare and what they're doing, but over there at Tokeny, and really see how they've been able to bring value. That's huge. I love the technology. I love what you guys are doing. All right. Well, this is actually probably my most exciting question of the day, and it's actually over there for Tokelytics. Daniel, how you doing? As RWA scale, we all know risk management's important. We also know as they increase complexity of how you've been able to manage your risk in the blockchain is an ever evolving thing. So what market trends do you see influence the risk management? And Blocksquare is always exciting, but RWA just keeps on making moves in the space. So I'm super glad to have everybody here talking about what's going on in the RWA space, and really just bringing the information out to the community, and ultimately showing why we're so kind of enthusiastic about RWA as it continues to grow. We know, in my eyes, it's a little bit much more of a maturing aspect. It takes time, especially in the real estate investment area, but blockchain really has accelerated the access and the technology. So I'm super excited to have you guys here today. Give us a moment as we get all the speakers up here, and we'll be kicking started here in just a second. I want to make sure everybody's mics are good, but first I want to make sure everybody is up here and ready to go. It looks like we got most of us, if not all of us, up here, but yeah, just give us just a moment, and we're going to be kickstarting another exciting Twitter space over here with Blocksquare. Definitely appreciate having me over here to moderate and host these again. It's always exciting, and like I said, we have some really great names here today. So we'll be diving in here in just a second, but take the time right now to use the restroom, get a snack, get something to drink. For how you've been able to actually take that side of
informed decisions, and we really hope that that's going to push the whole industry as a whole, all providers, all asset operators, all marketplaces forward at once.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And like you even touched on, it's allowing those that are not as familiar with the traditional finance or RWA ecosystem themselves actually start to come in and educate themselves and actually find value that they can add to their portfolio. And I think that right there is a huge win for the RWA space, because even myself being very familiar with Blocksquare and a lot of the RWA ecosystem, there's still so much that even myself, before I even put a big investment in, need to learn, need to understand, and get those data points. And having something like an AI be able to not only get through the data but also learn as more data and it goes on, it's going to only enhance the users and the ecosystems for the platforms, right? As more data comes out there, people will be able to make better decisions, which in turn will allow them to start utilizing the Polytrade's ecosystem to find certain option trades for them. So I think there's going to be a lot that you guys are going to do to help grow not only Blocksquare and Tokelytics, but the entire ecosystem itself. Risk management and getting the data at your hands is kind of the win. And we've always been talking about, the faster you can invest, the better, your position is. But a lot of times the best position doesn't always help if you don't have the right data and you're a part of the right ecosystem or the right project itself. So like I said, for the RW space, you guys are definitely going to be killing it, and it's good, a lot of growth there. All right. Well, that being said, I appreciate everybody being here. I love the answers. I love the questions. Love the AMA. It was awesome. Learning a lot about what Tokeny's doing, and finally a little bit about what Tokelytics is doing over there is huge. Obviously, I can't wait for you guys to be fully launched and out there, because I'll be utilizing it to find more, obviously, opportunities in the ecosystem. But obviously, the risk management, I think, is a huge win. So I'll even be promoting it, because there's a lot of people that are kind of just on the fence with the RWA, but I want to start getting some of my communities itself in there. So this will allow them to be able to get in, kind of understand, the ecosystem, but also educate themselves to make proper investment opportunities, because ultimately, like I said, I don't want people to feel like, oh, they're in it, but there's no value because they don't understand it. I think understanding it is going to allow them to really bring the value not only to RWAs, but to their portfolio. So, no, that was really great. All right. With that being said, I don't have Polytrade up here, and we were missing one of our speakers today, so that was a shame. Hopefully we can get them back on another space with us, and we can really bring the value of what they're doing. But well, I do have a couple of you guys here. We'll move over to closing statements before we close things out. Dennis, why don't you go and lead us off with closing statements before we close things out today?
First of all, Manuel, thank you so much for hosting. I think you did a brilliant job. Unfortunately, we had, once again, the space break. We still have something about 120 listeners with us. So thank you everyone for joining back. It seems that, even if things glitch on the tech side, the interest in RWA is there. I'd like to thank everyone who participated. Tokeny is a company that's one of the great ones in the space. I'm really honored to have you here. You guys are bringing so much in terms of how the technology can be utilized in the securitization market. You're focusing on a segment that Blocksquare is definitely not able to reach or not even targeting. Let's say that if you guys are tokenizing real estate above 20 million, we're tokenizing everything below 20 million. And I think this goes really hand in hand when it comes to bringing supply on chain. Polytrade, we don't have them here right now. They're doing an amazing job because what they're doing is they're focusing on how to kind of aggregate everything together, and transforming it in a way that the demand side, so the user base, can easily interact and investigate and browse, let's say, through possibilities, right? And so it's a lead generation of sorts for all the protocols, all the suppliers around to interact with. And the supply side is something that is required, but the demand side is really the one that's hard to bring because it needs trust. And here it ties into Tokelytics, where we will bring trust to the demand side with insights. So thanks everyone for coming here, and I'll close my part and leave for the others to go to closing statements.
Ah, man.
Of on-chain finance. So thanks for having me, and I hope I was a bit useful.
You know what? Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. We definitely see the value of what you guys are doing, and even Dennis gave you a huge props there, compliment in the beginning. And like I said, I'm very interested in what you guys are doing. The technology is unique, it's different, and like you say, we're not trying to solve a big issue. We're actually trying to enhance access, and I think that's a huge win. You're using great technology that's already out, and just like you said, put it on steroids, right? And so I think that's a really big win for the ecosystem. And I can't wait to see how you guys are growing. Obviously, Tokelytics, huge ecosystem there that I've been super excited for. And obviously, there's a lot that I still need to research. And I'm super familiar with Blocksquare. They've been a great friend of me, and I've been doing whatever I can for them. So I'm definitely excited to have the opportunity to do this AMA. But anytime they say they want me to moderate AMA, I put everything down. I always put them as top of my schedule because I think the value that they're bringing to the ecosystem is something that's going to last for years and years to come. Like, I've helped a lot of different projects, and I've done a lot of different AMAs for people, but I'm always excited when Dennis is like, hey, let's do an AMA. So like I said, thank you. I really appreciate all the work you guys are doing, bringing value to the ecosystem, bringing value to traditional financing that was like saying, before you even coined the word RWA in the space, you guys were already on top of it, building it. So I'm definitely love the pleasure to be able to host these, be able to be up here and talk to these teams. Some of you guys are like just massively out there as CEOs or as the bigwigs in the ecosystem, and me having the opportunity to be able to speak about your guys' technology, your guys' company, and what you guys are doing it's a huge honor. So thank you, I appreciate it, and I really just encourage everybody here to please get on their ecosystem, follow them, and turn those notifications on. Tokelytics is going to be launching here in a few weeks. Like I said, you don't want to miss your chance to be able to have not only concise data points that you talk about, but also transparency, right? It's the most important thing in the blockchain. This is going to allow you to have that transparent look on the value of the ecosystem and the different opportunities, while also tying in AI, which I think is a huge win. So it's definitely exciting. You guys have been doing so much cooking in the background, and obviously you guys aren't stopping right here. So with that being said, I appreciate it again, Denis. I appreciate Blocksquare, and everybody here continually doing what you guys are doing is huge value to the ecosystem. I'm going to be doing my research. I encourage everybody here to do your research. But all in all, this is not financial advice. You always do your own research and make sure you're always staying safe in the space. I appreciate it, guys, and everybody here. You have a great day.